Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a disturbing nature.
And we're not going to hold back on the graphic details and disturbing content.
So we do not recommend our podcast for children under the age of 13.
And while we respect the victims and their families involved in these tragic cases,
we're also going to be critical of mistakes that are made during the investigations.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So with that said, this podcast may not be for everyone.
And that's okay. We're glad you're here checking us out.
And if you've made it this far, welcome to the Unsung Murder Ballads family. And follow us on Instagram at Unsung Murder Ballads if you want to talk to us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 105. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
All right, tonight we find ourselves with a case that was inspired by a horror movie, which is weird.
Ooh.
You know, you have those occasionally, but these two fucking idiots really took it a little too far.
Interesting, because people do love to say how much like popular media and violence and media, video games, whatever, like cause copycat killings.
Right, which most of the time it's not the case. But in this instance...
Right, but sometimes it is.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it is. And it's funny because I don't know if I'm sure everyone has seen the documentary Bowling for Columbine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a moment in that where one of the people that are trying to, because basically Michael Moore was kind of going against, like, for gun control against the National Rifle Association. But there were people that working for the National Rifle Association that were out there basically trying to stop what they perceive was the problem. Not the guns, but the media influence. And there's a guy who is protesting Marilyn Manson playing in their town. And he says something like, not all rock and roll leads to people going out and causing violence. But then he turns around and says, but not all ads for cars make people go out and buy this expensive car, but some do. And it was like really stupid, but in this,
I don't know, I think the argument is valid, but
I agree.
I don't know, like I'm thinking like even like arguments for gun control, right? I don't know, are we totally off topic now at this point? I don't know. Not everyone who purchases a weapon is doing it with intentions of hurting another human being.
Agreed.
Some are.
Agree, and some are, and some people are influenced. So you're right. The argument isn't 100% invalid. It's
right,
just
and like
flawed.
the inverse argument also makes sense.
Right. It's just a flawed argument, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, let's dive in. Cassie was watching a movie with her boyfriend Matt. She was house sitting for her aunt and uncle as they had gone away for the weekend, and it seemed like a great way to spend some alone time together. They were sitting on the couch when the power went out. This was followed by noises coming from the basement and one of Cassie's aunt's dogs staring at the basement door, growling.
The dogs always know.
This is not a horror movie?
No, this is real life.
In real life, the dogs always know.
Yep. The lights turned back on and then off again. On again, off again. They're hearing weird noises. Matt called his mother, telling her what was happening, and asked if he could spend the night there with Cassie because she was afraid. His mother said no, but offered to allow Cassie to spend the night at their house instead. Cassie felt that because she had agreed to take on the responsibility of watching over her family's pets and home, that she should stay. Matt's mother picked him up, and they left Cassie there alone.
Oh, no.
Strike one.
Roughly a day and a half later, on September 24th, 2006, Cassie's aunt and uncle and her 13-year-old cousin returned home and were horrified to find the body of their family member stabbed over 30 times, laying in a pool of her own blood. The 911 call that came in has her aunt screaming, "There's a dead girl on my floor. She's missing a finger." And you can hear the screaming of Cassie's cousin in the background as she wails.
Oh, heartbreaking to listen to, I'm sure.
It's so messed up how she says, "There's a girl lying on my floor, dead."
Yeah, instead of her niece. It's weird.
Yeah.
And the recording...
there's no personalization there.
Yeah, she... I think it was just because she was trying to deliver it to the police in, like, matter-of-fact terms. Does that make sense?
But That just feels off.
Agreed. Idaho State Police Lieutenant Robert Rausch rushed to the scene where he found Cassie lying on the floor and lots of blood everywhere. The grisly murder shocked the small, quiet town of Pocatello, Idaho, where murders like this just didn't happen. And now I am going to play an audio clip that you have to hear.
I just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. Oh, fuck. That felt like it wasn't real. I mean, it went by so fast.
Shut the fuck up. We gotta get our act straight.
Okay.
Yeah. How about that?
What the
What
fuck?
the fuck just happened? I am sitting here with my mouth dropped.
Same.
Yeah, so these fucking idiots were inspired by the movie Scream, and they are deciding to document their whole process.
Oh, for the love of everything.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So this is the case of Cassie Jo Stoddart. Cassie was born on December 21st, 1989 in Pocatello, Idaho. She attended Pocatello High School, where she was known for her friendly and outgoing personality. Cassie had a passion for art and enjoyed drawing and painting in her free time. She was also an animal lover and had a pet dog named Maddie. Cassie was a responsible, straight-A student who took her studies seriously and aspired to go to college. The assholes you heard in the video were Brian Lee Draper and Tori Michael Adamczyk, and they were both born in 1990. Draper was born in Sandy, Utah, while Adamczyk was born and raised in Pocatello. Draper's family eventually settled in Idaho, and the two met when they were both sophomores at Pocatello High School. Both boys were interested in films and started recording films of their own. Cassie, I know, right? Like, what the fuck? I understand, like, it's great that they found a shared common interest and became friends, but hello? Yeah.
It's cool to be into films.
Yeah, it's cool to be into horror films. Just don't kill people.
Don't make your own.
Morons. So Cassie, along with Draper and Adamczyk, were in the 11th grade at the year that this took place. Cassie was captured on video by the two boys on Friday, the morning of September 22nd, at school while she was putting her books in her locker. She was wearing
And this is the day it happened?
The day it happened. She was wearing jeans, a green shirt, and a white jacket, and she stopped unpacking her books to briefly say hi to the camera. To her friend Justin Sands, who sat next to her in English class, that Friday seemed like just an average day. He said, quote, "I just remember being in class with her. I just remember it was a normal day. If I had known it was her last day, I would have treated that day different," unquote.
I mean, it always is like that. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. So Cassie's mom, Anna, picked Cassie and her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, up from school at 3:45. Cassie planned to dog sit that weekend for her aunt and uncle. Their names were Allison and Frank Contreras, and they lived on Whispering Cliffs Drive, and Anna dropped both teams off around 5:30. Later, their friends, Draper and Adamczyk, came over to the house to hang out. Cassie's
they were friends?
Oh, yeah, they were friends.
Fuck.
Cassie's mother checked in with her daughter around 9:30 p.m., and Cassie told her they were just watching movies and that she'd call her mother the next day. The four teens went into the living room to watch Kill Bill Volume 2, but Adamczyk and Draper ended up leaving before the film ended, saying they wanted to watch another movie that was playing at the movie theater instead.
Wow, ditching the hang.
Cassie was unaware that before both boys left, Draper had unlocked the basement door so that he and Adamczyk could re-enter the house undetected.
Fuck.
Sometime after leaving the house, Draper and Adamczyk returned to the neighborhood, parked down the street, got out of their car, put on costumes consisting of dark clothing, gloves, and white painted masks.
Fuck.
The boys quietly entered through the basement door while the couple were upstairs watching television in the living room. They intentionally made loud noises in an unsuccessful attempt to lure Matt and Cassie downstairs so they could, quote, scare them. Next, they found the circuit breaker and turned off the power in the house, hoping that they would come downstairs to investigate.
They really wanted them in the basement.
They really wanted them to come down into the basement, yes. When Matt and Cassie did not come downstairs, the boys turned some of the lights back on. The power outage, although brief, terrified the two teens. Cassie became uneasy after the first temporary power outage, and Matt noticed that one of the dogs kept staring down the basement stairs, periodically barking and growling. Seeing that Cassie felt scared, he called his mother, and as we said, he asked if he could spend the night, but his mother was like, absolutely not. And as I said, she did invite Cassie to stay, but she declined that offer. So at approximately 10:30, Matt's mother picked him up, leaving Cassie at the house.
Ugh.
From the basement, Draper and Adamsick heard Matt leave. Matt then called Adamsick's cell phone to see where he and Draper were, thinking that he might meet up with them later.
Wow, leave your girlfriend at home scared and go hang out with your friends. Cool.
Asshole, right? But his parents weren't allowing him to spend the night. So
Right, yeah.
And my guess is this is far enough away that he needs a ride, so it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like
it's not helpful for him to be available anyway.
Right. So he assumed that because he could barely hear Adamsick, who was whispering, he assumed that the two of them were actually at the movie theater like they said they were going.
Oh my God, what a brilliant cover.
It was, it's weird.
I don't even want to give him credit for it. It just sounds like it was their alibi or they're like, whatever.
So the teens turned the lights out again at the circuit breaker and waited, hoping that Cassie would come downstairs to turn the lights back on. But no offense, if she wasn't going to do it with her boyfriend, why would she do it alone?
Facts.
Right, exactly.
So eventually, the boys went upstairs. Draper was armed with a dagger-type weapon, and Adamsick had a hunting knife. The weapons had been purchased at a pawn shop. Draper opened and slammed a closet door at the top of the stairs to scare Cassie, who was lying on the couch in the living room. And when I say lying on the couch, I mean curled up in the fetal position, not moving, terrified.
Right, so scared.
I wouldn't be able to function. No way.
Yeah, you get frozen there.
The two psychopaths continued to make noise in attempts to scare her and make her jump off the couch, but Cassie stayed where she was, in a perfect example of freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I had to guess, she probably thought the fucking house was haunted and just was hoping the ghost would leave her the fuck alone.
Yeah, like if I stay still, the ghost won't notice me. I've definitely had that irrational thought before.
But when she didn't move, things escalated quickly. The boys attacked her, stabbing her approximately 30 times. According to Draper, Adamsick was the first to attack her. The boys left and put their clothes, knives, and masks into trash bags and went to destroy the evidence. Their plan, and I wish I was kidding, they used matches and rubbing alcohol to try to burn everything.
Oh, dear God.
They couldn't even afford a half a gallon of gas. And of course, at this point...
What an interesting thing they were trying to do here.
It's weird. Yeah. None of it makes sense to me. It's clearly not very well thought out.
No.
So after that, they tried to bury everything. And Matt said he tried to call Cassie from home. And this is her boyfriend, sorry. Her boyfriend said he tried to call her from his home at 12:30, but she never answered. After her relatives discovered her body on Sunday, Idaho State Police Captain John Gansky said Cassie had been stabbed numerous times. He said, from looking at the scene, it's clear that Cassie put up an extreme fight. She fought for her life.
Oh.
As we said,
yeah, that's what happens in Scream, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's true. Cassie had been stabbed over 30 times, but with 2 different blades. 12 of those wounds were deep enough to have been fatal on their own.
Holy hell.
Oof.
One of the blades was serrated and the other was not. And most of the fatal stab wounds had been caused by the serrated blade, save for one, the one that punctured her heart.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Investigators couldn't find the knives that had been used to stab her in the house and saw no signs of forced entry. It was also clear to them that there was no real motive, as Cassie was well liked at school. Now, Cassie's mother's boyfriend was initially considered a person of interest, as his fingerprints were on the circuit breaker door in the basement. You know, where they...
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Well, he did...
But also, like, he would probably be the one doing that anyway, if it needed to be done.
Well, and that's just it. He provided a reasonable explanation for that because he had done electrical work at their house.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
So-
also good to keep him as a
Well, yeah,
suspect.
I'm glad the cops were keeping their options open. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, the attention turned to Cassie's boyfriend, Matt Beckham, as a suspect, as he was the last one to have seen her alive. In fact, suspicion fell so hard on him that Cassie's mother at one point called him directly and asked him what he had done to her daughter.
Oh,
God.
When police...
which is just so awful because he, like, obviously not her fault for assuming that, but, like, he just lost his girlfriend, too.
Yeah, this is fucked up all across.
It's just heartbreaking to be accused when it's someone you love.
Yes. So Matt confirmed to police that he had been there that night and that the lights had flickered on and off while he was there. And his mother explained to police that she heard Cassie's voice from inside the house when she picked him up and he was leaving. So she confirms that Cassie was alive when she was there.
Mm-hmm.
Investigators decided to give Matt a polygraph test. Now, Gansky said he had passed with flying colors, but in that conversation, it was Matt who would ultimately give them the break in the case that they needed.
Oh.
Matt told detectives that on that night, two of their friends, Brian Draper and Tori Adamsick, had also briefly been at the house. So after he was cleared by their polygraph and a consistent alibi, the detectives brought in Draper and Adamsick for further questioning. Now, before we go any further, I want to state something that has irked me about this case, and it seems like the best place to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
How is it possible that no one thinks to check in on a teenage girl alone in a house by herself for more than an entire day?
Thank you.
That nobody
Think of
hears
the
from?
Same damn thing.
Seriously. An entire day and a
How
half.
old is she?
She's 16 or 17.
There's numerous times that would have happened to me.
For a day and a half?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It just seems weird to me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean it's not weird. You're right. I'm just saying
So, I mean, Cassie's boyfriend, Matt, stated he couldn't reach her, but since he didn't have a car, he couldn't drive up there.
right.
Yeah,
And it was
you know.
late, so it's
Yeah.
like plausible deniability that
But
she's
no,
asleep.
but the next day, I mean. That's Saturday.
Oh, the next day, yeah.
So, okay, teen boy, no car, clearly not close enough to walk. Okay. But her mother said that she didn't think anything was off when she didn't hear from her the entire time.
Now that's weird in and of itself.
That's a lot of time to let pass, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the mother's fault, but it fucking pisses me off, is all I'm saying.
And it wouldn't have changed anything because she already was attacked.
That's true, but I mean, you're right. It wouldn't have saved her, but it just seems weird that it took them a day and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt also stated that he asked Adamsick to drive him up there to check on her, but Adamsick had claimed that he didn't have any gas in his car and couldn't drive him.
Bullshit.
So now, looking from Matt's point of view, that's not exactly suspect either, because again, teenagers, no jobs, probably not a whole lot of money, you know. But
Yeah,
still,
running out of gas all the time. That
Yeah.
was normal.
it's still
Once
weird.
again, a very convenient alibi.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, back into it. So Draper and Adamsick were brought in for questioning and told officers that they were shocked to hear about the killing and didn't know anyone who would want to hurt their friend. Draper and Adamsick told police that after they had left the house, they went down to watch a movie called Pulse. An employee at the movie theater, who happened to go to school with both boys, said with certainty that neither of them had been at the theater that night. Now, Captain Gansky said they knew they were lying to us. Now we just have to figure out why they are lying to us.
Mhm.
The teens couldn't recount any detail from the movie they claimed to have seen. Which is
Bad
obviously...
alibi.
Exactly. It's a horrible alibi. If you're going to claim to go to a movie, pick one you've already seen, morons.
Right. And like they had time to brief themselves on it in between these multiple interviews, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Idiots.
They,
Read the paper
they-
or whatever you did back then.
Right? Well, this is 2006. It would have been on the internet.
True.
They then claimed that they had instead had broken into cars in the area and had not gone to the movie theater. And they hadn't admitted to that because they didn't want to get in trouble for breaking into cars.
Okay. Well, that's a better lie, I guess.
I guess, but you'd think
That's
then
still
what
ass
cars?
backwards.
and not only that, but wouldn't the police have reports about people's cars being broken into?
Exactly.
So investigators started to set up a polygraph test for them, but before the test began, Draper got extremely emotional and said he needed to speak to the detectives.
Oh my God, he's cracking already?
Yup.
He's just a teenager. There's not enough emotional regulation there to not.
As his parents sat in the room with him, Draper recounted how he and Adamsick had gone back into the home that night, turned off the power, and tried to scare Cassie wearing masks to disguise their identities. But he claimed he was surprised when Adamsick started stabbing her for real. He said it wasn't supposed to happen through tears. He said it was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah, then why did they bring knives?
He obviously downplayed his own role in the crime.
Right.
So during the investigation of the murder, police found that Draper and Adamsick had video recorded their plan to murder Cassie while they were at the school.
Dumb fucks.
Now, I'm going to play the audio of some other video footage that was found.
Oh, no.
There should be no law against killing people. I know it's a wrong thing, but hell, you restrict somebody from it, they're going to want it more.
That was them talking about how they don't think it should be illegal to kill somebody.
It's frightening because they really do sound just like the people in that movie.
Yeah, the idiots from Scream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's and obviously they're inspired by that. You know what I mean? Like you can hear like you said, you can see the scene in the movie when they're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, visually, it's in my brain.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So Draper and Adamsick were arrested on September 27th, 2006, and charged with the first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Across multiple interrogations, each teen blamed the other.
Of course.
Draper claimed that he was in the same room with Adamsick when Cassie was killed, but denied stabbing her. In later interrogations, he admitted to stabbing her at the behest of Adamsick, who told him to make sure she was dead.
All right, well, you did it. Then you're just as bad, dude.
Exactly. Draper then led investigators to Black Rock Canyon, where the teens had partially burned and buried the clothing, masks, weapons, and videotapes they used for the murder.
At least this kid's confessing and we can know what happened.
Exactly. Police recovered the partially burned VHS tape from the location, which after restoration showed video footage of their plans to kill Cassie.
Also weird that they filmed it, like that they took the time to film this stupid ass thing and then threw it away after?
Yeah, they burned it like idiots. I mean, they didn't even fully burn it because they were using rubbing alcohol.
Right, and it was clearly not that burned if they could reproduce it.
Exactly. At trial, the prosecution revealed that Draper had said he was inspired by Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who committed the Columbine High School massacre.
That's just lovely.
He told police that he hoped to carry out a similar act with Adamsick's help, but his friend was more interested in the concept of being a serial killer, specifically mentioning the movie Scream in his interrogation. And Adamsick later said that he was inspired by the Scream horror movie franchise. Draper and Adamsick had decided to create their own real-life version of the movie, targeting Cassie simply for the reason that they knew she would be alone house-sitting in that house.
That's psychotic.
That is incredibly awful.
Like, just because, like, just anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Alone in a house. And it's so funny because isn't that the plot of the later? I'm pretty sure that's the plot of later Scream movies. Is copycat killers.
Yes, I think I haven't seen the last couple, but I've heard they're actually better than the last couple of the first grouping.
Yeah, I have.
So they had recorded themselves preparing for their chilly mission in the videotape they tried to burn, but investigators were able to recover that footage, which captured the last day of Cassie's life, as they detailed their plan to kill her. And I have one last audio clip.
We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get?
fucking scumbags.
What the
Just
actual
like the
fuck?
way they're saying it
They're
too,
like
man.
bragging about it. Oh my god.
Exactly. Now, can you imagine then trying to sit there and in court try to say, but it really wasn't me, it was him?
No, how do you can't come back from that?
Yeah. It's
No.
fucking idiots.
Sure, it was an open and shut case.
Yeah, it's pretty much done. Exactly. The two boys also recorded themselves huddled in the high school library where they made a death list of hopeful victims.
Oh, that's horrifying.
Wow.
On the videos that were played at their trials, one of them said, "We're sick psychopaths who get pleasure out of killing other people."
And they hadn't even killed anyone yet.
Exactly.
What a twist. Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Both teens were convicted of first-degree murder, with
I
Draper
hope so.
convicted on April 17th, 2007, and Adamsick on June 8th, 2007. On August 21st of that year, they received the mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus 30 years to life for being convicted of the conspiracy to commit murder.
Damn.
Okay,
And they were
good.
were they 17 or 18?
They were 17. That's
Wow, and they still were able to get a life sentence. I didn't know if that was different.
well, it's Idaho, but two, we're going to cover a little piece of that in a bit.
Okay, got you.
Adamsick and Draper are both serving their time at Idaho State Correctional Institution located in unincorporated Ada County, Idaho, near Kuna. I don't really know where that is, but, it's Idaho. I don't know where anything is in Idaho, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's one of, the 13 states I've not yet visited.
Yeah, I mean, not much. Well, it's some beautiful nature, but I don't know how much you care about that.
Well, I plan, because realistically, that whole section of the country is the part I haven't been to.
True.
So pretty much from Nebraska up and west. So I actually have to do that. So in November of 2019, Adamsick's sentence was upheld after his appeal was denied by the Idaho Supreme Court. Numerous appeals have been filed by both of them, and they have all been denied. In 2010, the Stoddart family filed a lawsuit against Pocatello High School, the school district, claiming that the school authorities were negligent and should have known that Draper and Adamsick posed a threat to others.
Interesting. On what grounds?
Well, at one point in middle school, Draper had been accused of talking to other students about committing a school shooting, but when confronted, he claimed he was only kidding. And Draper was investigated a second time when reports came in that he was planning a shooting at a school dance, but in the end, police determined that he was not a threat.
Oh,
What?
sorry, I just hurt my stomach.
Oh my god.
Tales all this time. Truly, how many times have we heard that?
Way too many.
Someone literally threatens to shoot up a school. They're like, "Nah, he's joking.
Yeah,
he's just an edge lord or whatever."
Yeah, exactly.
And then he does it.
Yeah. Both the civil court and the Idaho Supreme Court dismissed the case, saying the actions of the killers were not foreseeable. Yeah. I mean, this was back in 2006, or 2007, so it makes sense. We didn't quite have the school shootings at the level we have today.
Yeah, or like the body of evidence of all of these times when
Yes.
this same thing has happened. Someone showed warning signs, it was ignored.
Right. So I think had this happened 10 years later, they would have successfully sued the school district.
We would hope, yeah. Although it's like these things still happen.
Almost
We
every
still
day.
hear these same things.
Yeah. So 15 years later, Draper would say about his youth in an interview, quote, I felt like a nobody. I felt like I'd be a somebody if I did something, big and bad, unquote. Fucking loser.
Ew, shut the fuck up.
Wow.
He's such a
that's
loser.
Not okay.
Yeah. He claims he carries regret every day for taking the life of Cassie, and that he has a message for other kids who feel like outcasts and are considering violence. He says it's not too late for all the kids out there who are thinking about this kind of stuff. I'm assuming he means killing. Fucking loser.
Yeah, I wouldn't take anything he says seriously.
Yeah,
No way.
exactly. Yeah, maybe he's saying it's not too late for these other kids, but it is too late for Cassie, you piece of shit.
Exactly. It's like I would hope that he's using that platform. Like, I guess that's the right thing to do with that platform is be like, hey, this This isn't like a good thing to do. This isn't going to satisfy you in whatever it is that you're unhappy about in your life.
Exactly. I know that high school feels like an eternity, but if you can just push through those years, most of the people that you can't stand will fall to the wayside.
And you'll literally never see or hear of them again.
Right. I mean, I don't know how big Pocatello is in terms of a city, but
right. But you can leave.
Yeah, like you have other options. So the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart was a senseless and tragic act of violence that left her family, friends, and community devastated. Cassie was a bright and promising young woman with her whole life ahead of her, and her untimely death was a profound loss for everyone who knew her. There were further consequences from Cassie's murder. Her 13-year-old cousin, the one that found her body, attempted to take her own life at one point, but luckily survived. Her aunt lost her job, and her uncle sunk into alcoholism. I did hear in one report that they never entered that house again and put it up for sale.
I don't blame them at all.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's just too traumatic.
The perpetrators of this heinous crime, Brian Draper and Tori Adamsick, were motivated by a twisted desire to fulfill their violent fantasies. Their actions serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unmonitored aggression and the importance of identifying and addressing mental health crises in teenagers. Although Cassie's life was cut short, her memory lives on through the ongoing efforts of her loved ones to keep her legacy alive and should not be overshadowed by the selfish acts and psychopathy of the boys who took her life. And that is the case of Cassie Jo Stoddart.
So fucking sad. Fuck these guys.
It's fucking crazy. It really is. Like, and you should, I'll post photos on the Instagram, but she's a beautiful girl. She had everything going for her. And literally, because she was in a situation where she was vulnerable, these two fuckheads.
And her friend.
Her friends. Yeah. And there is, and I didn't really go into it, but there are some people who believe her boyfriend was in on it.
What?
Yeah. No,
I doubt it. So. I doubt it. But like, there are some people who believe because it was just too convenient that he left the way he did.
Right. And I guess they were like, the way they were saying beforehand, they were like, oh, she's going to be in an empty house.
Right.
And if they, yeah, okay. I can see the plausibility of what they're suggesting.
Yeah. Like, because I had friends who, back when I was in high school, I was very, very often the instigator of trouble, right? So, and there were people who were good friends of mine who were just not the type to get into trouble. They didn't like the chaos of it. They didn't want to risk, trouble with police or their parents. So the moment shit started to happen, there was a handful of people in my friend group who would run as far and as fast as they could. And I get it, like those people would have left me to, in this situation, like I'm not saying I've never murdered somebody, but like in that situation, if I was the guy deciding, hey, I'm going to kill somebody, there's at least one of my friends who would have gotten out of the situation but not reported me.
Woof.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not saying her boyfriend had anything to do with it, but I can sort of see why people might think that.
Yeah, I can see where that like suggestion is coming from.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you everybody for joining us. Once again, I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.